welcome back to this revisionary class on strategic management. We have scheduled the discussion of Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 during this session, and I would be very happy to take up any backlog of questions from the previous session. So if you are there, you may write your queries, and I will be attending to the backlog of questions. In the meanwhile, I wish to gratefully acknowledge some great participation from the participants in the previous session. Mansha in particularly was very participative, and she put on the question group lots of queries, and of course one of her major queries with respect to the relationship between strategy and structure we need to take up. Although it pertains to the strategy implementation that we intend to take up tomorrow, however, I would not like to keep my learners waiting for the answers to their query, so I will be dealing with this query. Besides, she has also raised a query with respect to the content in the study material, wherein maybe somewhere it is mentioned with respect to business level strategies that it is advisable for the company to follow cost leadership in conjunction with differentiation. Besides, I am pleased to acknowledge the participative contribution by Renuka and K. Vidhavati for their question on difference between logistics and supply chain management. This question again pertains to level strategies and partly the implementation, but I would be definitely responding to it right now so that my learners don't have to wait for their queries to be answered. Dhuhuri asked a very unusual but I think very fundamental existential question, which we have been kind of responding right from our class 11, 12. For example, whether management is science or art, whether political science is science or art. Her question, if I'm correct with her gender, with the gender of the learner, is whether the strategic management is an art or science. And Pranjali also asked a very meaningful question, which I had responded to in the previous session itself, meaning of vision, shared and shared vision. So over to the discussion of the questions that were raised in the previous session. The relationship between strategy and structure is one of the major tension in strategy literature. Whether structure inhibits the strategy or it facilitates the strategy, and also whether it is malleable. Malleable means it responds to, it can be changed to be brought in sync with the requirements of the strategy. And we find, again, two kind of alternative perspectives. One is the conventional or traditional perspective, for example, propounded by Chandler, who says that structure, inhibits the strategy, and it is not unusual to, kind of anticipate this kind of a response on the relationship between strategy and structure, because suppose an organization were to change its strategy from that of towards that of new product development and innovation, right? And your structure is bureaucratic. Now, in bureaucracy, what happens? Any proposal, even for a slightest change, and here there is a question of approaching new products and new markets, it has to move from the proposer to the approver. So there's a long hierarchy, and then the approval has to come back. And by the time red tape is the typical characteristic of bureaucracy. By the time a decision is taken, the opportunity may be lost. So what has happened? A bureaucratic structure has hindered the implementation of the strategy. Likewise, if the extant structure, the prevalent structure of the firm is a functional structure, I hope you all are aware of the types of structure, although I will be taking it up when I meet you in tomorrow's session. And the company decides to diversify. Diversification into whether related or unrelated would mean that the company has to have a product focus. That means we need to have a divisional structure with the product divisions, but my existing structure is functional and it is rigid. It is very difficult to change the. You see, I can change the structure. Structure is, after all, a diagram, so I can change the structure very easily. But it is not the structure; it is the people behind the structure, who have to change, and who have to adjust to new roles and responsibilities. So, asking a functional manager to assume the responsibility of a product division is a huge task. And to that an extent, the structure will be inhibiting the strategy implementation. So, the statement is only one-sided, wherein it is, kind of presupposing that structure will follow the strategy, and that's the later part of the statement. And the first part is strategy should support the structure. That means my strategic choices would be restricted by my prevalent structure. So this particular statement question is a dilemma, is a debate question, wherein you have to take both the sides one by one. So you can say that when it comes to the relationship between strategy and structure, we find two alternative and contrasting views. One, that we should be following a strategy that will support the prevalent structure. Now this view inhibits or limits the strategic choices available to a firm with, of course, its attendant pitfalls. The second aspect, the second phrase of the statement is the structure follows the strategy. It is suggestive of the fact that organization structures are actually not rigid, and it is possible to restructure the organization in consonance with the requirements of the strategy. So I hope I am Mansha. If you are there online, I have been able to clarify this doubt, and on behalf of Mansha, in a way, I have responded to all my learners, all institutes learners on this particular issue. Okay. Second question was with respect to the difference between logistics and supply chain management. Or before that, another query with respect to the study material. We have seen that business level strategies can be cost leadership and differentiation. Now here, somebody or the study material, kind of is suggesting that in practice, a firm must, follow the cost leadership along with differentiation. Whether this will be possible or not, it's a very difficult call. But what we need to understand is that if product differentiation, even if in terms of quality, in my last session I talked about price and quality, kind of a matrix. So there's a general perception that if I want to differentiate, my firm, my product with respect to quality, and I want to come out with a better quality, now it must be accompanied by a higher price. Now this notion is now giving way, and today we are talking of affordable excellence. Now this is again C.K. Prahlad's concept, which has been followed up greatly and immensely by R.A. Mashelkar. So, so it is not necessary, and in practice, it should be possible to deliver good quality, at a great price. So, in terms of the changing competitive realities, I cannot have the arrogance as a firm that because my quality is high, I must charge you premium pricing. No, it is possible, and maybe it is more welcome to deliver a quality product, at a price advantage too. So maybe in this context, your study material talks about uh, the imperative of the firm pursuing cost leadership with differentiation. Nevertheless, and the bottom line is that even if I am going for cost leadership, it should not mean compromise with quality. So that is the minimum part of it. The cost leadership strategy implies that my product will not have frills. It will be a base level, entry level product, and therefore I intend to penetrate the market, and I'm targeting the customers which are price sensitive, and therefore I am able to take away competition within this maybe bottom or middle of the economic pyramid from my competitors. So I am targeting cost sensitive customers. Bottom line is that it doesn't mean that I am compromising with the quality. And the top line is that it should now be possible to attain good quality with great price. I hope Mansha, and through Mansha, I have been able to resolve this query of the learners as well. Second important issue that has been raised by the learners in the previous session pertains to what you call difference between um, logistics and supply chain management. Remember, logistics is a rather limited, kind of concept, because logistics is again comes from military. It means the movement, the physical movement of kind of goods and services. So whether I am obtaining the raw materials, so this is the inbound logistics, and the components, these are coming to my factory for assembly purposes, and these are being rolled out as the products, outbound logistics. So logistics is a rather a limited aspect of the overall supply chain management. Supply chain management will, of course, include logistics, but besides that, it will include very many other things. For example, supplier selection, the vendor development. Now, these are the aspects of supply chain management. I have to ensure supply consistency, supplier quality. So, supply chain management, which in turn is a part of operations management or production management, is a bigger concept, and logistics is a part of the supply chain management. I hope that clarifies. Uh, vision and vision shared I have already discussed. Now to a more fundamental question um, on whether strategic management is an art or science. If you are, as I said, from commerce background, you would have dealt with this question um, uh, in your CBSC, for example, whether management is an art or science. The question is like, is of that owner only. And how do we respond to this question? We look at the characteristics of the art as an application of knowledge, as science as the development of the knowledge, a systematized body of knowledge, which is teachable and learnable, whereas art is practice based. And then we say the management carries the features of both art and science, and so on and so forth. Uh, Almost similar logic will be applicable even in this scenario. But I would like to make some additional observations with respect to the discipline of strategic management, because you see that Uh, Today, management is becoming, data driven. So there's a lot of data science and decision support system which is available to the managers and who have to do this data mining and delve into large data, big data analytics to be able to identify strategic direction of their firm. So to that extent, a lot of decision science elements are getting into strategic management. Secondly, strategic management, in fact, virtually all management is not a single objective, kind of maximization or minimization problem, right? It is a multi-criteria decision making, right? So you have to, in your objective function, there are several criteria which you have to deal with. And it is a complex, therefore, a decision making model, right? So therefore, the readiness and preparedness of the professionals with respect to data sciences and data handling techniques is going to help a lot in developing a prowess in strategic management, right? So I hope this kind of settles this particular query. I can see a couple of more queries coming in. I have been asked to detail Porter's model and then whether technology acts as an opportunity or threat. I will be taking these questions up in the course of my transaction of the target that we have kept for this session. I shall surely be responding to these questions as well, but this was the backlog that we have tried to kind of attend to. As I said, in this session, our companions will have increased in number. As you can see, I will be taking you to test drive. That means I'll be doing a little bit of learning confirmation from you, and I will be taking you back to my previous session, wherein I will be asking you to recall certain concepts from my previous session and therefore previous units. And I will be also imparting an ethical dimension to strategic decision making, and I will be raising certain what you call value-based questions. In your board exam, CBSE, you have done value-based questions. So we'll be dealing with the value-based scenarios and situations also for the for strategic management. Can we take a quick test drive from my previous session? I'm asking you to just do fill in the blanks. Let us see who responds the fastest. Can we kind of do a fastest finger first? So competencies are whether they are born traits or these are learned over time, built over time. I have dealt with this issue in my last session. And also whether competencies, in order to become sustainable competitive advantage, what are the attributes? Three attributes I have mentioned. Fourth, you have to identify. The three attributes that I have mentioned are that the competency has to be valuable, it has to be rare, non-imitable, and what? Let me see if anybody is responding. Let us have 1 minute in a kind of a window of opportunity for you to take this test drive. Yeah. Maybe we'll come to this later. I have not received any responses as yet. Now, chapter 3, as I said, I will be, kind of uh, inducing and inspiring you to recall from my previous session. And we had seen in the last session how strategic planning has evolved, over a period of time, right from day-to-day problem solving, troubleshooting, to budgeting, long-range planning, and then how strategic planning, has moved on towards management, because execution is very important and evaluation is also very important. And also, if you look at, we had discussed strategic intent in terms of the various components of the strategic intent, namely vision, mission, business definition, business model, goals, and objectives. Uh, in last session, we had just focused on the distinction between vision and mission, and we had not taken up business definition, business model. So we shall be taking it up as well in this session. Okay. Now, an important observation, as you can see here, the word strategic is being prefixed to planning, to decision making, to management. In my last session also, I did try to drive in the point, what does this prefix strategic mean? And we had looked at the definition of strategic decision making with respect to certain characteristics, that strategic decisions are unified, comprehensive, integrated. These are infrequent and non-recurring, we call it durable use or plan, right? And they entail irreversible commitments. I will also be encouraging you to take another test drive to, kind of become clear whether, how to identify whether a particular decision or decision situation is strategic or not. Now, these are the news items from the corporate world in 2017, wherein Maruti decided to take a big leap into technology, and from being a laggard with respect to its competitors to becoming a pole position, to becoming a leadership position. And Delhi Metro reduced its fare on the airport line to generate more business. And Apple had launched its India version of SE for rupees 27,000. Of the three decisions, which decisions you think can be called as strategic decisions, and why? So I leave this question with you. I hope to get responses and get a discussion going on this. I can see questions coming in, not, of course, related to Unit 1, Unit 3 as of now. I have seen some, kind of questions coming on, yes, the strategic analysis, pest analysis, and SWOT analysis, and business process reengineering. I will be shortly taking up these issues in this session. Okay. So one of the important, plank of this particular chapter, as we had seen, is the formation of strategic intent. And I think in the last session also somebody asked me, what is strategic intent? So, and I had related it to the intentional behavior, right? And intentional behavior means it's a purposive behavior which the company, kind of engages in. Well meditated, well thought, kind of decision, and all these elements taken together form the intention. Many a times, this intention has to be interpreted from the strategic decisions and behaviors of the firm. So the firm is not saying that it is my intention. So you have to infer the intention from the behavior of the firm. And also, many a times, my stated intention and my actual behavior may not be in sync with each other, and that's where a dissonance will emerge. So there will be an ethical dilemma whether the intention of the company was good, but the outcome turned out to be bad. So whether we should be focusing on the consequences or the intention or the behavior. So, I have tried to articulate this relationship between intention, behavior, and consequences in this particular diagram. I call it a deep dive because this theory is not in your syllabus, but you must understand that strategy is purposive, intentional behavior, right? One deliberately takes it up. And if you look at on my right quadrant, wherein I have tried to agitate your thought process with respect to the various types of behavior that we engage in: vegetative, reflex, motivated, and then reasoned behavior. So strategy falls in the reasoned behavior. So we wish to achieve something, right? And we examine its feasibility, whether it can be done or not. These perception of desirability and feasibility, they lead to the formation of the intention. What is intention? We have already seen: vision, mission, right? Business model, etc. So, and then this intention is translated into behavior, and behavior leads to certain outcomes. And as I said, from an ethical perspective, if I am, what should I be more concerned about? The intention, or the behavior, or the consequences, or the outcomes, right? So market will evaluate the outcomes. So if the company does not do well, maybe this is the outcome that the stock market, for example, will evaluate. It may not have the sagacity to go into the whether the company's actions were right, and whether the intentions were good. So this kind of a differentiation between intention, behavior, and consequences is always will always be there. Now, let me move on to the some of the questions which are important from the scope of the chapter, because here we are talking about the strategic management model, wherein we are looking at how environmental analysis and organizational appraisal, this is your study material, leads to the formation of the strategy. There has been a question on this regard from one of the participants here on Sri Vatsa. Sri Vatsa asked the question: strategic management enables to achieve the right fit between the external and the internal environment. There are again two approaches. One is the fit approach, that I should be looking at the fit between organizational strengths and weaknesses and environmental opportunities and threats, and on the basis of that I should be generating my strategic alternatives. However, we have seen that strategic intent defies this fit. So it is my intention, the firm's intention, that matter, and I try to realize my intention through my implementation, right? So therefore it's only one part of the story. Yes, strategy as a plan is formulated with reference to the environmental analysis and organizational appraisal. I hope this strategic management model, which is there on page 3.15, caters to Srivatsa's query on the strategic fit issue. So there are two issues: strategic fit versus strategic intent. So strategic fit talks about the matching between S, W, and OT. We have already done this matrix. I will be doing this matrix again here to highlight how the strategic alternatives are kind of generated out of this particular analysis. So let me continue a little more on this, so that this SWOT kind of analysis is taken care of, and so is Srivasta's query and certain other queries with respect to the strategic management model. So this is one of the models, as I said, the most prominent model, which is followed in most books, including your study material. Now, in our last chapter, of course, we had talked about SWOT analysis and TOWS, right, on page 2.6 and 2.40. And if I can, now this SWOT analysis leads to certain grand strategies, and when I say grand strategies, our focus is on the corporate level strategy, right? And we had seen that when organization is operating from a position of strength, and there are opportunities galore. Now this is a SO, max kind of a strategy, and the firm should be willing to go all out for expansion, right? And when there are strengths and there are organizational strengths, but the environment is somewhat hostile, I can try to use my strength to thwart organizational or avoid environmental threats and pursue stability. So as you can see, the four generic strategic alternatives, the grand strategic alternatives that emerge from the study of the environments and the company analysis are expansion, stability, and retrenchment. The three generic strategic alternatives. We must also understand that within these four, within these three, there are various sub strategies or various approaches possible. For example, in retrenchment, rather than I quitting the business or I liquidating the business, I might think in terms of partial divestment. So I might give a partial stake to somebody else, hoping that the other company's capabilities will synergize with mine, and I will be able to convert this threat into an opportunity, and I might be able to do well, so that I may be able to turn around my business, right? So turnaround strategy is a part of your WT kind of strategy. So one strategy, retrenchment, but there are variants. As I said, there can be divestment, full liquidation, and there can even be turnaround, right? Likewise, expansion. Expansion or the growth strategy again has several variants, and as you can see, these variants can be we will discuss in chapter 1 also, chapter 1 also on Ansof's matrix, right? So I can grow by new product development, I can grow by market development, I can grow by diversification. And one of the approaches, what you call sequential approach, which Ansoff has talked about in one of his papers, is that maybe I begin with market penetration and move towards market development, and then towards product development and diversification. So it is a stage theory of my growth strategy. So within one grand strategy, there are various variants of sub-strategies that can be followed. There has been a question on value chain analysis because when we talked about assessment of organizational capabilities, whether value chain, provides us with that kind of opportunity. We did refer to this value chain, whether it is there on with me in this presentation or not. No, I'm not sure. But however, I can definitely say that value chain analysis is another way of assessing your organizational capabilities, because you may be good at logistics, so your logistics are strong, but your firm's infrastructure is weak, right? And this might inhibit your ability to embark upon internal growth strategy, because your firm infrastructure is not there. You cannot expand capacity. But suppose you have got a deep pocket, then you can acquire and grow big overnight, so to say, and leverage your prowess in logistics to turn out superior performance. So yes, I would agree with the suggestion given by this Vinila Chaudhary, who says the need of what is the value of value chain analysis. And as I said, value chain analysis enables you to look at organizational strengths and weaknesses when I am looking at my firm level value chain. Vinila has also asked about the utility of pest analysis, right? SWOT I have already talked about. Remember, when we are talking about corporate level strategies, we are looking at the macro environment. And in my previous morning interaction, I have talked about the layers of the business environment and how these layers are relevant at different levels of strategy formulation. So, Vinila, if you are listening, please understand that the macro environment, comprising political, economic, social and technological environment, it has a greater bearing on the corporate level strategy. And suppose an economy is in recession, it will affect my all the businesses. A corporation will be having various businesses, so all the businesses will be affected. Yes, not exactly similarly, but more or less, to a large extent. So therefore, I have to capture the trends in the socio-economic and political environment and changes in the ecology, and such sudden developments as the break of the COVID-19 and capture their likely impact on our businesses. So I hope this attends to the genre of queries of Srivatsa and Vanilla, about how the strategic management model focusing on the fit between environment and firm's capabilities, kind of enables strategy formulation. Now, Naveen asks me whether technology is an opportunity, or a threat, right? Usually it depends on, which side of the table you are, I mean to say. You see, every opportunity, that's another fundamental fact of strategic management, and that too of life in general. Every opportunity has a competence requirement. There might be precious pearls and stones in the seabed. This is an opportunity. But who will be able to reach them? The one who knows the diving. So the competence of diving into deep sea and the necessary equipment which is required for such a dive is necessary for you to be able to leverage this environmental change, as an opportunity. So, a changes in the technological environment will be an opportunity for the firm which is ready to embrace this technology that has flexibility and great learning capability, where people are willing to learn new technology. And in fact, learning by itself is a huge capability. It is a saying that learning to learn, unlearn, and relearn at a fast pace is a huge capability that a firm can have. And Peter Senge calls it learning organization. So question is whether my firm, an individual might be slow learner, fast learner, and so on. But when it comes to organizational learning and team learning, you see no organization can afford complacency and laxity on this count. So you have to be a fast learner to be able to adapt to the challenges of the technology. So I hope it answers the question. Any environmental change will be an opportunity for some and will be a threat for some, right? It is possible. So, and this response will depend upon the organizational preparedness. Uh, Now, somebody has, Shiv has asked about business process reengineering. You talked about BPA. What is BPA, Shiv? Are you talking about business process analysis or something like that? Um, BPR is a concept introduced by Michael Hammer. Um, for the strategic turnaround and for unlocking the performance potential of the firms, and it is an important aspect. Reengineering is an important aspect of organizational transformation. We have just had a discussion on structure and strategy compatibility. Not only the organizational structure may have to be changed, but even the organizational processes will have to be kind of changed. And there are those typical 4 R's of organizational change: reframing of the business model, restructuring of the organization, re-engineering of the business processes, and renewal of the organizational relationship with its environment. These are the 4 R's of organizational transformation. So, therefore, this fits more in our discussion of strategy implementation that we will be, kind of taking up tomorrow in greater detail. But I hope this brings us, kind of up to date with the questions that have been raised so far by our course participants. There has been a question on the turnaround strategies, and by Pranjali, who has also asked me to distinguish it from divestment strategy. I have already talked about this with respect to the grand strategy design. I hope you are now clear that both divestment and turnaround come within the retrenchment quadrant, which is the southeast quadrant of the SWOT matrix. The difference is that in the turnaround, rather than exiting the business in view of the threats, we are trying to bring about a change in fortune, right? I am immediate examples, if you like to see in the case scenarios. Remember, it's a limited turnaround, but very important. In view of an environmental change wherein the laws identified some problem with Nestle product Maggie, right? Uh, so anything happens in any market affects you globally. So you are actually pushed to the wall. and how Nestle's managers, strategic managers, worked, kind of incessantly to ensure that the franchise risk and the reputational risk associated with Maggie and the loss of business and phase, was turned around, and how Nestle bounced back in the wake of this particular crisis. Another important retrenchment strategy, kind of case scenario, that kind of matters a lot with respect to your retrenchment strategies, is that of Volkswagen. I hope you are aware, and it is still fresh in your memory, that Volkswagen kind of uh, experienced a huge challenge in view of a particular scam, kind of that broke there when they tried to, tamper with the pollution reports in respect of their vehicles. So not only there were legal, kind of proceedings against Volkswagen, but they had to really face a beating across the globe on this count. But how Volkswagen, kind of fought this threat, and how its top management team, kind of worked over time to ensure that the reputational risk and threat experienced by Volkswagen was countered. And if you have if you watch advertisements, how the recent Volkswagen advertisement, kind of highlights this fact that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? So I hope this takes care of your queries. Now, I hope many of the queries have been taken care of, and if there are any more queries, I will be very happy to respond to. Um, and let me also kind of simultaneously proceed the with the uh, with the unit. Uh, if there are any more questions, let me see quickly. I think I have covered most of the questions, right? There has been a question also on Facebook, and Geo, kind of a strategy alliance, which has made the news. Yes, definitely. Sure. And yeah, there have been queries, there have been responses to the question that I had put on the group with respect to the organizational competencies, and the response has come from, I think, two participants so far, and their names. Let me kind of figure out from the database. Even if I kind of miss out on names, please don't mind, because I'm simultaneously operating on two machines. Kind of, and at times one is not able to kind of access. Shiv has answered the questions correctly. Competencies are learned over time, and the fourth characteristic of the competencies before they become sustainable advantage um, is non-substitutable. So Sumedha, I hope you will kind of correct yourself. Competencies are not born traits, right? These competencies are acquired over a period of time. To Sumedha especially, let me also drive home the fact. Here we are talking about the firm, right? Not individual, right? If at all you are, probably you have had a background in psychology and you know that the personality traits, even in personality theory, there is a debate whether the personality is genetically determined or whether it is acquired. So, this debate is even more for the organizations, and organizations, they do develop their capabilities, rather they are born with the capabilities. These are learned over time. So this is what Mohana has also said. That's very good. Somebody has Likitha has asked whether a strategic alliance is a type of merger. No, it is not, because in merger, as you know, that there is an equity exchange, and that's how a merger happens. A strategic alliance is a tacit, kind of understanding between two firms. I think the greatest example of strategic alliance that comes to my mind is between Coca-Cola and Nestle in South Africa. You will appreciate that Coca-Cola is essentially a cold beverage company with its flagship products being served cold, and Nestle tea is and coffee, that's the Nescafe, is a hot beverage company, right? And you know that these hot beverages and cold beverages businesses are seasonal businesses, right? And if somehow there can be an understanding between these two seasonal businesses, they can be counter cyclical, so they can cancel out the negative deviations in of each other, and therefore it can be a win-win solution for a collaboration to happen between these two type of businesses. So this type of strategic alliance happened between Coca-Cola and Nestle, wherein they jointly they agreed to for the joint promotion of their products. This type of strategic alliance you also observe, for example, in other hospitality businesses. With minor investment here and there, but by and large, these are tacit understandings. For example, a particular soft drink collaborating with a pizza, kind of a chain. That pizza chain will serve only a particular brand of soft drinks. So this is called a strategic alliance. So in strategic alliance, usually there is no, kind of equity stake. It is a tacit understanding, and kind of therefore an attempt to move from competitive strategy to collaborative strategy to cooperative strategy. I guess most of the queries so far have been taken care of. We can afford to move ahead in this chapter. And now I will move to two vital issues in this chapter 3 of business definition and business model. To my mind, these are important dimensions of strategic intent, and which we need to kind of emphasize. Let me see if I can quickly move to this. Now see the business definition. Essentially, business definition is all about the scope of the business. There is a very famed management thinker. Marketing guys, know more of him, Theodore Levitt. He wrote a beautiful research paper called Marketing Myopia. Myopia is a disease of eyes, wherein you are able to only take, look at the things at a short distance. You are not able to, look at the things at a far distance. The business managers, the corporate managers, struggle to define the scope of their business. Now, as you can see, the picture on the right hand is of a toothpaste tube. Now, you can think of any kind of manufacturer or company producing toothpaste, be it kind of Colgate, Palmolive, be it Hindustan Unilever, Close Up, or Binaka, or even Patanjali, for that matter. Now the question is, if I am in the business of toothpaste, and it is one of my products, maybe the flagship product, shall I simply say that I am in the business of toothpaste? That means I will not be able to diversify into related products, maybe tooth floss, maybe toothbrushes, right? Theodore Levitt argues that your business definition doesn't have to be too broad as to include everything, and thereby causing a frustration, because you will never be able to have that wide a product mix. Nor should it be too narrow. That becomes very restrictive. So you have to choose some position somewhere in between. So when we move up the business definition from toothpaste, we go to the notion of oral hygiene. And the moment I talk of oral hygiene, I expand my opportunity space, because now I can diversify, say, beside toothpaste, into tooth powder, into mouthwash, into dental floss, into toothbrush, and so on. So what I am doing is that by defining my business, kind of smartly, I'm able to expand the ambit of my expansion span. If I were to move further up, maybe personal hygiene, the moment I expand my definition to include, kind of personal hygiene, I can diversify into body wash, bathing soaps, right? And I move up further onto personal care and personal grooming. My product range further expands. So business definition, refers to the fundamental question: what business we are in. And all the business managers have to respond to this particular question, right? And that is very, very important. And what is the mantra of Theodore Levitt? That your business definition should not be too narrow so as to restrict your strategic options, and it should not be too broad so as to cause frustration. I hope I am clear. If there are any questions on business definition, I will be very happy to respond to this. Again, a very important question. This question arises much more in entrepreneurship and business startup, kind of a literature, wherein the financiers and the venture capitalists always ask the entrepreneurs that, okay, you have a great business idea, fine. What is your business model? How will you make money? How will you monetize your business idea? So therefore, the business model, is a concept that focuses on the various functionalities within the business, in terms of who are your target customers, who are going to buy your product, what is your specific market offering. After all, what does, for example, a company like Trivago offer to the customers, right? So what is your market offering? Whether there will be customers paying for your offering, or
It's 8 o'clock.
or you will not or you will be um, monetizing not your product but something else. So your business model can be, for example, an advertising model. uh, most platforms, be it Facebook, be it YouTube, uh, these even Yahoo, the browsers such as Google and Yahoo, they don't charge you for the services that you are consuming, right? Where do they make their money from? So their money comes not from their direct market offering, but from other sources. For example, there's an advertising model, right, which these companies, kind of follow. So they derive. What is the business model of Uber, Ola, right? Or for that matter, Oyo, right? So it is very important for the entrepreneur or even for the existing managers to think through their business model and innovate your business model constantly with a view to making money and generating above average returns for your kind of your business. Now, for example, this is a case scenario in respect of Ola Money. As you can see that Ola makes money out of trip commission, and then you have to buy Ola Money. So that Ola Money functionality, it's a payment and transactions, kind of a platform that helps you. Then it does in-cab promotions. You would have seen those LED screens. In fact, their cars are also wrapped. So there is a car wrapping, there is in-cab promotion and advertisement commissions. Of course, off late, both Uber as well as Ola, they are also into cab leasing, and they make money also by deep discounting of the cars that they purchase from the car manufacturers, right? So you have to think in terms of innovative ways of making money, um, and to return, kind of a corporate performance for your investors and for your other stakeholders. So I hope with this we have covered most of the content for this particular chapter. That is chapter 3. It is already 1 hour since we started. If there are any other questions pertaining to chapter 3, although I would not restrict your questions to the chapters, you can ask questions from wherever you wish to. We will take up those questions, and we are ready, I guess, to move to the next chapter, which is there on our agenda for today's time. Yes, I guess there are no more questions as far as I can see. This is a question that I addressed even the last time in my last session also, whether Reliance Geo strategy can be considered as planning mode or entrepreneurial mode. I had emphasized that the kind of it's a implementation of your strategic intent. That you are entering a market which is already dominated by big established players like Airtel and Vodafone, right? And there is a customer loyalty towards those brands, despite telecom regulation authority allowing number portability. So it requires entrepreneurial guts actually, and to come out with a product in an existing market and upset the existing kind of customers. So I would like to put Reliance Geo strategy more as an entrepreneurial strategy rather than kind of a rather than a strategy which comes from a systematic step-by-step, kind of a planning, right? So it is essentially highly disruptive, kind of thing. Uh, okay, there has been a question on how do the television channels make their money, right? They make their money, even the newspapers make their money through advertisements. We get a newspaper for 2 rupees or 5 rupees, but the actual printing cost itself is 15 to 20 rupees, right? Because there are colored pages also, right? So where do they make their money from? They make their money from the advertisements. And both these television channels as well as newspapers keep innovating the way they can make money. For example, they do shopping channels, right? And they do deep discounting. Customers are made to believe that they are getting 20% discount for the product. If they were to buy from these shopping channels. But already they have had a 40% deep discount on the products that they have tied up with. So this is where you can kind of make your money, and you have to constantly kind of make keep innovating on this. Can business definition be changed? Yes. At least the corporate perception can be changed drastically. I am immediately reminded of this is a question that comes from, let me see, this is a very good question. Arjun asked this question, whether the business definition can be changed. Yes, Arjun, for sure. Sure, but of course there has to be a process followed. In fact, because you are students of chartered accountancy, you have studied corporate laws. There's something called object clause in the memorandum of association, right? Your intention, the strategic intent, falls somewhere in that object clause, and you know that all your stakeholders support a company because of the objectives that it kind of pursues. So an alteration in the object clause is a process that you have to duly follow, and that process is well laid in the Companies Act, for example, and maybe you have to follow a special resolution to bring about the change in the memorandum of association. But how we change the perceptions of the people about our business? I am reminded of the classical example of ITC. Now, it is a company which is whose even today more than 3/4 of the revenue and profitability comes from legal cigarette business, right? But you know that the cigarette has a negative ethical connotation, so it creates a negative image in the minds of the public, right? And how the CEO and the top management team and the board of directors of ITC have endeavored hard to convert this ITC from a cigarette brand to a FMCG brand, right? How we remember their classmate stationery, how we remember their hotel chains, Welcome Group hotel chains. So this is how we bring about a change in the perception in the minds of public about our business definition. There has been a question on the vision, mission, and objectives. I have already clarified these issues in my previous lecture, but again, just to kind of highlight the fact that vision becomes very aspirational, right? Idealistic, kind of a future for the company. And mission is always with reference to a product and a market, reference. So mission is always about product market configuration. I will quickly run through, if it is possible, certain vision statements and mission statements that will clarify you. Why I highlight this point that mission is always, focusing on the products and the market. As I mentioned in my uh, morning interaction also, that mission of a farmer, for example, has been from the time immemorial growing of crops. No? So, mission is what we do, right? The farmers grow crops. How I can overlay it with a vision? Now, suppose a farmer or a farming company, because there's a corporatization of agricultural sector also, maybe not in India as much because, but elsewhere, they may develop a vision of coming out with organic farm products. Now, you are enjoying this mission of farming with a vision, as big as sustainable agriculture and organic products. So, I hope the difference between vision and mission, which is very generally, kind of, and this confusion is not unfounded because very many times you will find that these words are used interchangeably. So, companies call it a mission statement, whereas they are talking of vision, or they call it vision statement, whereas they are talking about mission. So, Milton Friedman said there's no point in making definitions preciser than the subject matter they convey. Bottom line is that whether mission or vision, they are the face of company's strategic intent, right? So, as you can see, I have shared some of the vision statements given of Nike, McDonald. I have deliberately taken two companies from Tata Group because I wanted to see whether the group vision, whether we can infer a group vision, Tata Group vision in these two. As you can see, Tata Power says to be the most admired and responsible company. Similar idea, is reverberated in Tata Steel when they say we aspire to be the global benchmark. And in corporate citizenship. So the citizenship is responsible behavior, right? So it seems like there is a group vision which is imparted to the various business interests within that particular business group. So much so for the vision and mission. As you can see, everywhere there is a focus on customers. McDonald talks about, the mission to be customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. Tata Power to earn affection of customers, right? And Tata Steel mission in sounds more or less like a vision that the idea is to strengthen India's industrial base, right? So I hope these differences are now clear, and objectives are, we can look at these vision, mission, objectives as a kind of a hierarchy where objectives of a particular functionality or a division lead up to the realization of business level strategy, and business level strategy leading up to the corporate vision, and so on and so forth. So we can therefore distinguish between these concepts with respect to the specificity, with respect to functionality, business, or corporation, and abstractness. Vision tends to be kind of somewhat more abstract than mission and objectives, and so on, so forth. Okay, so so I hope you can look at these mission statements and vision statements, and as I said, the ends and means hierarchy of objectives, which enables you to differentiate between these terms. I hope it is clear. Now, I think let us quickly move to the chapter next up, on your syllabus. There's a lot to talk about this, vision mission discussion. But now it's a time to focus on the corporate level strategy, and we have covered this a bit, as a part of the strategic management process and model in dealing with the some of the queries that were there on the group. But it's a time to pack it up. I mean to say tightly, so that there's no confusion regarding those concepts. So the chapter is structured beautifully, wherein it talks about the grand strategies of stability, growth, retrenchment, and then it talks about the various growth alternatives in terms of diversification, merger and acquisition, and strategic alliance. I have already clarified the difference between mergers and strategic alliance. Then it talks about types of diversification with respect to integration and concentric and conglomerate, diversification. These concepts I shall be elaborating in my coming slides. This is from your chapter 4, page 4.3. This is very important for you to be aware that we can talk of various types of strategies with respect to the level at which these are formulated, with respect to the stages in the business life cycle. So there can be entry-level strategies that I talked about, growth strategies, maturity strategies, and decline strategies in line with or in sync with the corporate life cycle. And then I can also talk in terms of the competitive strategies on cost leadership and differentiation. We have already talked about the relationship between cost and differentiation. Within this interaction. In about last 30 minutes or so. Your book beautifully captures the basic features of the grand strategies that the firm has. We have talked some strategies in detail, especially the retrenchment strategies and the diversification strategies. I have already, highlighted the fact that the SWOT and the TOWS model gives you a fair amount of idea about the grand strategies that can be formulated. So there is a test question to confirm your learning and understanding. So whether expansion is a SO means strategy opportunity, or strength opportunity, or a strength threat strategy. And what principle of TOWS matrix? Now, so in this question, I am relating SWOT and TOWS. Does this strategy imply? Does it imply max? That is maximizing the maximum profit, or minimizing the maximum loss? Min-max, and give reasons for your answer. So I hope you will be taking up this exercise test drive to confirm your understanding. I can see a couple of more questions coming in. These are conceptual, kind of in nature. and I indeed welcome your engagement, in the session. And as I can see, we have dealt with most of the queries that have come on the group. In case I have missed out on some query, do not hesitate in putting your view. Last question that I can see on the portal, question portal, is from Pranjali, who talks about the porter's generic strategies. Pranjali, this level strategies we have kind of lined up uh, chapter 5, I guess, wherein we will be discussing Michael Porter, generic strategies. But we have already had a discussion in this session on, two strategies suggested by Michael Porter to compete at business level, namely cost leadership and differentiation. And there was some mention by Mansha, I guess, on whether cost leadership should be pursued in sync with the differentiation, right? So Sandeep has, Mr. Sandeep Ojha has responded to the test drive question on screen. He has correctly said expansion is SO strategy, and in TAOs it is the maxi-maxi principle. Spot on. Congratulations, Sandeep. Your answer is perfect. Uh, Continuing with the corporate grant strategies, as I had mentioned that within each grant strategy there are several sub strategies possible. Shivatsa has also answered it correctly. Um, Jyoti, thank you so much for your compliment. This is what we are here for. We must drive home the concepts because if we are not clear about the concept, we shall not be able to interpret so much that is happening around us, because business is all there in newspapers and business channels and so on. But once we are clear about the concepts, we can relate to whatever is happening on business, right? Okay. Now, Shivangi is also right in responding to this query. Hats off, Shivangi, to you for this. Uh, we should look at the or evaluate the strategies. It comes more in the last chapter, strategy evaluation and control. But even while making a choice about the strategies, we have to weigh the risk and return, associated with each strategic choice that we are considering. Uh, you know, now, for example, because we are at the corporate strategy, I would, like to stick to the focus on internal growth, the organic growth. That what is organic growth? That I do not grow by acquiring. Rather, I grow by plowing back my profits, right? Reinvesting my profits and gradually expand, increasing my capacity, right? So as you can see that there are potential, rewards associated with organic growth. You can plan your growth. You have to drive the business. The business doesn't have to drive you. So you can plan your growth. You can see your bandwidth, how much you can grow, right? And therefore take cautious decisions, step by step decisions. It causes less stress. But of course, it is a slow process. Organic growth is slow, right? And your competitors might outsmart you by growing inorganically, and they become big in size and therefore start dominating you, right? So while we are evaluating corporate strategic alternatives, right, we have to be wary of the associated rewards and risks. Sorry, your material doesn't talk about these rewards and risks, but I guess that an understanding of the fact, you may not require, remember all the points, but you have to remember the fact that every decision has associated rewards and costs and the risks. So a strategy is driven thereby not only by reward perception, it is also driven by risk perception, and the managers have to manage the risks of the strategic choices that they make. Inorganic growth has been a source of huge corporate level risks, and if you have done a paper on corporate governance, and so on, you would have seen various scams and scandals have happened because of indiscreet growth. Growth not only in unrelated areas, but also growth through, merger and acquisition spree. You know, acquiring a company, yes, it makes you big, overnight. But whether it will integrate with your culture, it becomes a huge challenge. You remember Ratan Tata saying in the conclave of British, CEOs in England, in London, that the England culture and of 9 to 5 clock watching is hampering the performance of Tata Renault, kind of a project, right? Because the other company comes from other culture, their corporate culture is different, and your expectations are different. The acquiring company expectations are different. So many a times, and most the mergers and acquisitions, if most, not most, many mergers and acquisitions, actually they become a liability. And as I said, this inorganic growth has, probably led to most corporate scams and scandals. So while making your strategic choices, you have to be aware of the associated rewards and risks. How we can kind of look at these rewards and risks, and how we can expand these matrices even further to develop a deeper understanding of the grand strategies that a corporation may be following, and what should be the criteria for opting for a particular sub strategy within a grand strategy. A screen like this gives you a fair amount of idea. Are there any questions so far? Let me check. Yeah. I hope it is visible. Sneha tells me that it is not visible. The thing. Okay. Mayank talked about the best cost provider strategy. I think I discussed it while discussing the Porter's strategy. That even while differentiating, you can provide a differentiated product at a good cost and at a good price to the customers, right? Nikita argues that an expansion can both be a SO or ST strategy. I mean to say, you have a right to have your perception, but generally speaking, expansion is an opportunity, right, for a business. There can be a defensive expansion at times, but you have to qualify it. Suppose you are experiencing a threat of acquisition, right? And you suspect that the larger player, larger competitor might eat you up. Then, in that case, you might either engage into a strategic alliance, or you might quickly, kind of a merge with literally with other companies to appear big, so that any predator means the company which is wishing to acquire you is held at bay, right? So you have to qualify, kind of your observation with respect to the peculiarities of a particular situation. Um, okay. Nisha has asked about the difference between co-generic. I think it is concentric, right? And conglomerate diversification or merger. I think we didn't mention that. The defining criteria is relatedness. So think of concentric circles. No, they have the same center, the same core competence, right? So when you are diversifying around your core competence, this is a concentric diversification. But when you go into unrelated areas, in fact, unrelated diversification is another, corporate, kind of a Waterloo, wherein very many corporations, kind of have burned their fingers. So, anyways, we are at the diversification matrix, and you can see that uh, this matrix, the enlarged version of the Ansof's matrix, gives you certain cues in terms of when to attempt what. So when the firm is its own customer, this becomes a vertical integration. You know that the vertical integration can be backward in terms of the supply source integration, or it can be forward in terms of the customer acquisition, right? Very many BPO companies, business process outsourcing companies, in fact, they are business process insourcing companies in India. They went for customer acquisitions abroad, because they were hitherto getting the insourcing the business from some kind of intermediary that will aggregate the business from the customer, say in America, and give it to the BPO here. So now why not acquire the customer, and therefore to that customer save on to the margins to be shared with the and the difficulties of intermediation, and that's called a forward integration in terms of customer acquisition. Reliance, of course, is a classical example of Reliance Industries is a classical example of backward integration. When I am diversifying in the same type of product, right, and a homogeneous product, some people call it a horizontal diversification. So instead of one factory, I have two factories in a way producing the same product. So it becomes I become a big factory, kind of overnight. From same, when we move to the similar, I am going to concentric, kind of a diversification. And as you can see, we have added two more dimensions to the matrix. Relatedness with respect to technology. So if technologically related product, we are talking, so not only the market relatedness, but even technology relatedness, we are engaging in what is called concentric diversification. But when we are adding a new product line, that becomes a conglomerate diversification. So I hope it is clear with respect to the corporate grand strategies. That was the subject matter of this particular session. This matrix, of course, is from your book, and as you can see, this matrix talks about the generic growth alternatives in terms of market penetration, increasing the market share, market size, adding markets, adding products to the markets, and diversification. Uh, I think your study material does a beautiful job in terms of explaining the nature of integration. And as you can see, this diagram beautifully captures the forward and backward integration with respect to the movement along the raw material to customer end. So if you are going towards the raw material side, you are doing backward integration, and if you are going towards the customer side, you are doing the forward integration. So much so for the corporate strategies. I have seen some questions on the group, not pertaining to the corporate strategies as such, but with respect to the Manan has talked about the matrix organizational structure. Manan, it would be great if we take up this question when I take up implementation tomorrow. But if I have the time within this session, I will close this query right now. But let me see this question from Aniket. Aniket has kind of asked a kind of a question on retrenchment strategy that I have talked at great length, wherein I have mentioned that retrenchment is a WT, strategic alternative, where your weaknesses are galore and so is the environmental threat. And I have also talked about the various ways in which the retrenchment might be happen. I call retrenchment as strategic retreat, right? So at times you have to step back in order to move ahead, right? So I look at strategic retrenchment strategy from this perspective. Remember, we talked about turnaround also as a retrenchment strategy. I have given some examples of turnaround. Let me also give you some examples of divestiture and divestment. I think the moment I talk about divestment, the greatest example is of our public sector enterprises, right? Wherein the government has resulted in, has resorted to privatization of public sector enterprises. So how it happens? You know that it can happen via bringing out an IPO and listing the public sector on the stock exchange, right? It can be also in terms of the outright sale of the whole or the part of the public sector enterprise, right? So the moment I say retrenchment strategy and associated with the privatization, I'm sure very many examples will come to your mind, and you know that certain business houses in post-liberalization era actually have grown out of their capability to buy the public sector assets at throwaway prices and make huge money out of that. I would not name the business tycoon, but I'm sure you will be able to identify the business house, Sterlite Industries, for example, Vedanta Industries. They have purchased, for example, Hindustan Copper, kind of non-ferrous metals, and they have grown big on the non-ferrous metal business, simply on their ability to buy the cheaper public sector assets. So I hope, Aniket, it takes care of your question. If a company will go into manufacturing goods that are complementary to the existing, so you are doing a kind of a public product line, kind of a completion. What is the question? I can't see the whole question here. Just a minute. Harshit, are you suggesting a kind of a related diversification? Um, I think it is more of a product line integration rather than a diversification as such, and it can happen through a process of internal development. It's a product development, so you can develop a product which is complementary to your existing product line. So it can be in terms of ANSOF's matrix. It can be a product development kind of a strategy. Uh, I am asked on the BCG growth share matrix. When star products convert into cash cow or and other alternatives, I may not be having BCG matrix right here on this slide show. Let me see if it is there on the. It was there on my morning slideshow. Uh, Even if it is not, then I will definitely kind of explain the BCG matrix. So, give me kind of in a moment's time on this. If I can quickly see whether the SAD matrix is there. No, it is not there. Doesn't really matter. Uh, Yes, BCG matrix is a tool for developing corporate level strategy. Um, Let me kind of give you a kind of a brief input on this BCG matrix. Uh, Look, as I said, a corporation can be viewed as a portfolio of businesses. So there can be various product portfolios, various product divisions within the corporation. So a corporation may be a multi-SBU, kind of a entity, right? Now, of course, not all the divisions will be doing equally well at any given point of time. Different divisions will be at different stages and will be therefore having different competitive positions in their respective industries or markets. Here, the challenge is to maximize portfolio return and risk. If you have done a paper on security analysis and portfolio management, you know that theoretically, for example, you can reduce portfolio risk in terms of Markowitz formulation to zero by having counter-cyclical businesses. I give the example of hot beverages and cold beverages, kind of example. Uh, so you have to see. I know stars are your products, which are your flagship products, and they are in the growing markets, right? So you would like probably, but you can't have all the stars in your portfolio, right? There would be certain products whose market will be maturing, and here there is an opportunity for you to take maximum cash. So use these as cash cows to kind of take the money from there and invest in your greenfield projects and emerging. This BCG matrix actually is a dynamic matrix, dynamic tool, for your portfolio rebalancing. So you can do some milking of your cash cows, take the money, invest in your star products, right? And you can keep certain your faithful products because maybe your corporate identity is kind of defined by that. In the recent corporate history, we had a huge kind of a boardroom war in Tata Motors, especially with respect to Nano, right? Because Nano was a product which which is a case study unto itself, with over 95 patents, and it gave the company a shot in the arm in the area of affordable excellence. Nano story was in a kind of a much celebrated story across all the business schools, right? But it was not giving you profits, right? And you had to take the hard decision of shutting it down. Some, you know, directors suggested that why not get rid of Nano? Somebody was very possessive about it, and that is where the kind of problem comes. So the BCG matrix allows you to move from one quadrant to another, and ensuring that in your portfolio your products or your businesses are such that which are in sync with your overall grand strategy, right? So I hope I have been able to respond to the query on the BCG. Incidentally, the BCG matrix has been used by Ministry of Commerce, for example, to determine the export potential of Indian economy. It has developed 15 cross 15, for example, 15 product areas and 15 product market areas with respect to the varying growth, to identify which are the thrust areas, which should be the thrust areas for India's export effort, right? Okay. There has been a question on divestment and divestiture. Divestiture means you get rid of a particular unit or a subunit of your business. For example, there can be various reasons, but suppose you are a mobile telephony company, and there are mobile towers, right? So what you do is that you hive off your tower business to some other company, right? Get rid of it, because your focus is not on maintaining the towers but providing the telephony, right? So you get rid of that. That doesn't fall in your core competence, right? And business definition, and also to you it is a low margin, low profitability area. So you give it to somebody else and you focus on your telephony services. So you get rid of a particular unit in divestment could even in terms of sharing a part of selling a part of your equity, right? Partial divestment, or it is also called disinvestment, right? The public sector disinvestment. So you disinvest partially from a particular. So you retain the unit, but you dilute your equity, and you invite equity partnership in that. There is a question on the difference between retrenchment and turnaround strategy. I think I have Kanishk asked this question. I have already clarified. Retrenchment is a grand strategy, and there can be various ways of retrenching the business. It is a WT strategy. In turnaround, what we do is that we don't, we still hold on to the existing business. We don't divest it, disinvest in it. We don't divest teacher it. We retain it, and with the hope that the environmental situation improves, and we will be able to turn a loss-making company into a profit-making company. We are sure of our management capabilities. Many times we bring in turnaround specialists on our payrolls, or at times we kind of invite maybe a management team. It's called MBI, management buy-in. Immediate example that comes to my mind is, although it doesn't fit strictly to the turnaround strategy, but it's a very good example. Remember when Satyam scam happens, Satyam had taken a beating, its share prices had come crashing down, investor faith had got eroded absolutely. So what was the kind of a package that the government of India put in? It brought in Tech Mahindra. So it was a kind of management buy-in to turn around the Satyam business, which was in doldrums, right? Yes, Nishtha, you are right with your answers. Thank you so much for participating in the exercises, test your drive exercises. I'm very happy to see the kind of enthusiastic participation by our learners in this evening session. Um, um, Gauri has asked a question. Uh, process. Uh, Gauri asking process is lengthy or details should be said because it takes a lot time. I do not understand, Gauri, your question. Does it pertain to the subject matter or is it some technical issue? I am not able to understand. Please. Mm, Aryan has asked a very interesting question. Thank you for this purpose. Uh, this needs a very deep response because emerging paradigm of corporations and businesses is increasingly become purpose oriented. What is there in the name? Is the purpose a new name for strategic intent? I'm sorry, it is not. Because purpose has got two things here to it. One is that it is meaningful, you know, and it transcends the self-interest. So purpose is a larger, kind of a uh, uh, ethos of being a corporation. And when I become a purposeful corporation, I am not. I am making a paradigm shift, from profitability, right? And a purpose is a more inclusive or a more holistic term. Uh, can I use certain analogies? Yes. Now, for example, instead of profitability, that is a single bottom line, I am using a triple bottom line. I hope you have heard of TBL reporting. Triple bottom line is people, planet, and profitability. So, along with profitability, I endow my corporation with a larger, purpose, larger objective of preserving the climate, preserving the planet, and also serving the communities in which the corporation is a part. So, new generation entrepreneurs and CEOs, they are very sensitive to the context in which they operate. They are very much concerned about the poverty and inequality, and poor living conditions wherever these are, and therefore they want to posit their companies not as expropriators or exploiters of profit, but as subservient to the larger interest of the society. Purposeful organizations and companies, they are more in sync with, in case you have heard of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, right? They believe in building communities, helping communities, developing their capabilities. They believe in more inclusive approach. For example, bottom of the pyramid pricing of their products, affordable excellence, right? Uh, their outreach programs. So they lay greater emphasis on corporate citizenship behavior and responsible corporations, right? Okay. Uh, Mayank has asked about the stages in the implementation of turnaround strategy, and then Abhinash Pradhan has asked the differentiation between forward integration and backward integration. Bhavita has asked a very interesting question in terms of if PVR Cinema starts making the chips to be served to the movie watchers, what strategy it will be. Okay, I think I should respond to all these questions. Uh, Forward integration and backward integration, your own study material beautifully captures it. I think as I have shown it already, but I will show it for the benefit of all once again. Um, now, basic fundamental of integration is that the company becomes its own customer, as if it were, or it becomes its own supplier, right? So, in my value chain, from raw material to customer service, if I am moving in the direction of the customer or the consumer, then it is forward integration. Otherwise, it is a backward integration, right? So, I hope the difference is clear. For example. Raymond's, which was for long a fabric company, integrated into garment manufacturing label, right? And you know that the Raymond stores, besides having the fabric, they do sell the ready-mades too. So this is an example of kind of forward integration. Integration. This is a forward integration also in the sense that from the manufacturing of the cloth, you are integrating forward to the manufacturing of the garment, and also from being the manufacturer, you are also becoming a retailer, right? So that is how the forward integration happens, right? Now to the question of PVR. This PVR business is an experience business. It is a lifestyle business, right? And question is what more products you can add. So I won't call it. I would essentially call it a product development, kind of a strategy wherein you can define expanding the scope of your movie experience to include. Yeah, kind of food and beverages, right? So you can do it in very many ways. You can do it yourself. You can collaborate with the F&B partners, who would be delivering the F&B on the seats of the viewers. It can be done very many ways. But I would still love to talk it in terms of the product development concept rather than. And what is the product? That is not only movie, it is the whole experience that associated with, it is not only screening of a movie, it is associated with the whole experience that, goes with it. Okay. Navneet asked the question whether a liquidation strategy is the last option. Or probably you are trying to suggest that should not a company try hard to hold on to a product which is in declining market and so on. I think sentiments, emotions play a role everywhere. That's why probably discontinuing of Nano took such a long time. But mind you, as a corporation, you are not only, uh, accountable to the CEO or to the board of directors, who run the company or who might be owning substantial equity stake in it. But also you are accountable for the to the investors and other stakeholders, right? So you have to take a call with reference to how your decision would affect the various stakeholders. And once you liquidate a company, and that's why probably company liquidation and exit is such a painstaking process, because the fortune of many stakeholders is at stake. Uh, 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 for example, what happens to the employees? Would you be absorbing them in some other business operation and so on? There will be various ethical questions as well. So liquidation is a very difficult decision in the life of a company, but it has to be taken. Thank you so much, learners, for participating in this session. Thank you so much, especially for your queries and your active, test drives to the exercises that we put up here. I hope to see you all tomorrow morning for another engaging session on strategic management, wherein we will be taking up the remaining unit 5, 6, and 7 and 8 in the 5 hours that we have tomorrow, 3 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. I sign off. Thank you so much. Goodbye and good night to you.